New Galaxy Broadcasting proudly presents Integrative Hermetic Health with Doctor Rodier, MD. In this program, we explore a powerful new paradigm for health from the standpoint of integrative medicine. In his practice, Dr. Rodier integrates the ancient Hermetic art and the enduring role of food as medicine with modern nutrition, but also allowing for the wide range of important health practices, including truly valuable medical discoveries, chiropractic, acupuncture, homeopathic, and herbal medicine. In this program, Doctor Rodier, an expert in intestinal health and nutrition, will help the audience discover an approach that focuses on actual cures, not the masking of the elegant simplicity of many health solutions for the sake of profit. Profit too long has been an overriding motive of the pharmaceutical companies, and sometimes, sadly, by many in the medical establishment today. Good morning, Doctor. How are you doing?
Good morning, Johnny. Doing great.
Well, I've had a real interesting time trying to improve my diet, and I have had some days where I haven't more or less cheated. And I can tell you the difference between not cheating and cheating. It's extraordinarily different. There was an ad recently, a video ad, for some kind of nutritional product, but it was talking about the importance of eating the right food in the morning so that you don't become sort of addicted to other foods. Do you agree with that?
To a point, there's so many ways to skin a cat, and I'm very liberal and tolerant of anything that works. So I wouldn't carve it on stone to eat the best food in the morning. If that works for you, great. It is true, though, Johnny, that you should eat breakfast as a king, lunch as a queen, and dinner as a pauper. That I subscribe to, but that doesn't mean that you can't eat really good food for dinner, just smaller amounts. Whatever works, and I do believe the morning period is the most important. What I tell patients is think of a rocket taking off from Cape Canaveral. Gosh, I'm dating myself. Sorry, Cape Kennedy. You use about 95% of the fuel just taking off.
There's a lot of gravity involved at that point.
Right. Once you're up there, you're just coasting. You're falling, really, is what you're doing, a controlled fall. So you spend no energy. And it's the same with the human body. Getting up, going in the morning requires a lot of fuel. Even hormones kick in to get you going, most notoriously adrenaline, cortisol, to get you going. So it's a very important period. Most heart attacks, incidentally, happen in the morning. So because of this extra boost of energy we need, so it makes sense to load up in the morning.
I see.
Yeah, I guess I agree, but I wouldn't say that's the only way to do it.
Well, we're going to go into, I think this is controversial. Maybe you don't. Whole grain rich diet reduces body weight, because not controversial because of what it says, but because there is definitely a lot of people in different different diets that really don't like the idea of whole grains either, whether they're whole or not whole.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a good article to bring up. Repeat the title, because it's really, like you said, can be controversial.
Whole grain rich diet reduces body weight.
Yeah. See, I think that the reason there's some pushback to this kind of literature is because of the Atkins diet way back, which was sort of the beginnings of the ketogenic diet.
And the Paleo diet too, right?
Paleo diet and all these diets that totally eliminate grains. And I just don't agree with that. Look, I'll say it again. They do help you lose weight. Any diet will, where you restrict a group or two of foods, macrofoods. Yeah, true. So I'm so keen on helping people lose weight. I don't care how you do it. Just get it done. I'm talking about a more sustainable way of maintaining weight loss. That's what we should focus on. Having said that, this whole thing about demonizing grains has to stop for many reasons. One is what you quoted. A diet rich in grains, whole grains, helps you lose weight because it controls satiety well. Number two, because people love grains. So as much as we might want to be paleo or ketogenic or eat a lot of meat, we still love grains. It's ingrained in our DNA, to make a pun.
Oh, I was going to point that out, but
yeah,
you got me there.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at our history. It's even in our vocabulary. Let's sit down and break bread, Johnny. Parties are full of grains and the harvest of grains. And, to all of a sudden say grains are out, that's crazy. Number 3, the planet is geared to feeding people through grains mostly, for good or bad. For us to all of a sudden say, let's not eat any grains, would be an economic upheaval of biblical proportions. Now, that some people get away with it because they got a lot of money and can afford meat, which most people cannot throughout the world, yeah, sure, go ahead and knock yourself out. 5, grains have a lot of nutrients that you would be hard-pressed to replace, eliminating grains altogether unless you supplement, and then there's a question whether that's a wise thing to do forever. To name a few, B vitamins. Sure, you find them in other nutrients as well, but grains have a lot of fiber. Of course, we find more fiber in veggies, true, but grains still have fiber. And then grains taste good. And so to all of a sudden nullify all that because we still believe that the Atkins diet is correct, it's not wise. What Atkins should get credit for is to point out the difference between whole grains and refined grains. So I think that's another problem with this whole thing, that when people hear grains, they're hearing refined grains, those breads and pastas that weigh nothing, just fluff.
Yeah, like Wonder Bread. It's a wonder they call it bread.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it kind of dissolves in your mouth before you can chew it. There's nothing to it. But when you talk about a loaf of bread that weighs like a brick and you can feel the substance, that's what we're talking about. Now, I do believe that you don't want to eat a whole lot of grains and fill up with grains. We talked about that. But to eliminate them from our diet, thinking that we're going to lose weight better by totally eliminating them, I just don't believe in that. So this is a good article to remind people of these good points. And it doesn't mean that we're saying don't try the ketogenic diet or the paleo diet to lose weight. Hey, try anything to lose weight.
There is another thing here that it mentions, another benefit supposedly, which I'd like you to comment on it. I think it says it also reduces systemic low-grade inflammation without inducing major changes of the gut microbiome.
Right. See, that's why I brought up the fiber point. Yeah, referring to that point.
Ah, that's right. I see.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. But it's exactly right. Has a powerful effect grains do on the microbiome. Why? Because we have been eating grains for eons. You see, so our gut bacteria develops according to what we've been eating. So our whole cultures, countries, empires, kingdoms have been based on grains. So that's why our gut microbiome is what it is, and it loves to continuity as something they've gotten used to. I often throw this in just for fun, just to be provocative. But say, Johnny, you're this world expert climber, and you're climbing the Himalayas, and you're way up there, and you run into a tribe of people who's never been discovered before, totally isolated. You're the first person from outside that they see. And so you walk down Main Street, and you see Domino's Pizza, Godfather's Pizza, McDonald's, and they tell you, we've been eating this way for millennia. Tell me, what would their health be like?
Hold it, I'm getting confused. They've never been anywhere, and no one's ever discovered them, but they suddenly got it hooked up with McDonald's.
Well, I'm just saying it's their forms of McDonald's. Come on, you gotta.
They have their own forms.
Suspend your belief here.
Okay. Well, I think they're screwed.
No, I think they'd be very healthy because they've adapted. They've had time to adapt to all that. We have not. This whole phenomenon of American diets is very new, and we have not been able to adapt. The point being, we adapt if we eat a diet long enough. And so that is why I think it's folly to demonize grains.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I must have missed something because I'm thinking that you said this is people have never been discovered, and they've actually invented McDonald's and Burger King substitutes.
Jeez. I guess you don't watch science fiction very much.
I write science fiction, but I definitely think this will be a new type of program. I mean, wouldn't it be funny to go? You go to this primitive place, Hunza or something, and they have McDonald's. Well, they have rice burgers or something. I don't know.
Well, it's just to make the point, that we adapt.
But what we've adapted to with McDonald's isn't too good for us, right?
Well, we haven't had time to adapt. That's the point.
You think we'll adapt and we'll find one day the Mac burger, whatever it is going to be good for us?
If we survive, which I hardly
because we'll probably die before that because
exactly.
we're eating that shit.
Exactly.
Excuse my language. Okay, well, we're going to move into the plant-based diet here. And this is experts recommend the plant-based diet, something you've been recommending for a long, long time. But one of the things about it is, let's talk about, again, the problems with eating meat.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, the most basic, the most scientifically documented, the most sustainable, the most common sense diet is a plant-based diet, period. The evidence is overwhelming. The problem with meat, and look, I don't insist that people be vegetarians because then I'd have practically no patience. That's why I compromise with patients, say, okay, well, at least get off bacon and beef and red meat and just, if you're going to eat meat, eat lean meat, fish, turkey, all right, chicken. But number one, meats, particularly the way we're raising our meats, are problematic in that they don't have every nutrient we need. Plus, they can have toxins like steroids, antibiotics, growth hormone. Further, meats are rougher on the gut. They are more atherogenic, meaning they can muck up your arteries. Not in every case, but it makes the chance higher. Another problem with meat is more public environmental, in that given world resources and the way our societies run and politics and marketing and ecology, it's rougher on the planet. In fact, the amount of energy it takes to feed meat to one person, if you take the same amount, you could feed 70 people vegetarian. That's a big difference. A cow, think of a cow. Well, she's out there drinking a lot of water, eating a lot of grains. So it's not energy efficient, if you will, for the planet. Then they're farting all over the place and contributing to air pollution.
That's a mean thing to say.
I'm sorry for Mrs. Cow.
How are they going to defend themselves?
That's true. Well, that's why they want you to go eat a chicken fillet.
Yeah, I saw that ad, right?
Yeah, I love those ads.
Well, what does it mean here that more than 11 million premature deaths could be prevented each year? I'm not quite sure what the cause is here.
Okay. Yes, I kind of brushed past that, saying that meats are more atherogenic, meaning they create more circulation problems, which can lead to a whole lot of chronic disease, from cardiovascular diseases. Of course, meats also mess with your microbiome a little more, and so you end up not living as long. The reason macho paleo man looks so tough is because somebody killed him with a machete, or a tiger jumped on him, a mammoth, and he was gone. So he didn't live long enough to show us what a meat-based diet would have done to him. Further, paleo man gets away with this macho type picture because it's Mrs. Paleo. Because most of the time, macho paleo man came back empty-handed from the hunt, right? Yeah. I mean, you think that he caught something every day? No, sir. He's probably lucky to catch something once or twice a week, and he would have starved to death had it not been for Mrs. Paleo Man staying around the cave, gathering tubers, seeds, and nuts, and plucking fruits from trees and whatever. So he would have starved had it not been for his wife. So, look, I'm not saying don't eat meat, although I think that's best. But limit the amount, make it as organic as possible, as lean as possible. Do try to get off red meat and beef, which, some segments of our population they act addicted to red meat. I mean, they don't think of a meal unless there's some red meat on the plate. And it's just amazing to me how you can be so brainwashed.
Well, listen, excuse me, doctor, we need to take a break now.
Sure.
We'll be right back, and we'll continue this discussion about red meat and so forth. This is Johnny Bluestar, CEO of New Galaxy Enterprises, a media content development company. The original productions by Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix in particular has opened up a new and powerful form of television that has both global income and still unexplored profit potential as convergence between offline and online media continues to blossom. We can help persons needing creative help to turn their ideas for television pilots into actionable, marketable scripts. There's probably nothing more exciting in the field of entertainment than these new vistas online, as that capacity crosses more and more to the big screen, and the opportunities for instantaneous online projections of any type of media in that perennially popular venue. To learn more about New Galaxy, see samples of our work, or talk to us about your project, please go to www.newgalaxyenterprises.com and fill out the contact form.
Boots in Manhattan is a coming-of-age novel by Ray Boylan and Johnny Bluestar. It is about a young Tom Boots Raymond who grows up in New York in the 1940s who was a member of a street gang.
My friends and I were about to start our own game of stickball when Rabbit Lacey, the head of the Rattlers, came up to us and tried to move in on our game. We were called dwarves, the youngest members of this stupid gang.
Hey, Kevin, I need you to get some gloves and some stuff I left at my place.
No, this is our game.
Hey, are you my good little dwarf or what?
You've been calling me a dwarf since I was 6. We're not your personal slaves, pal.
Hey, what is this? A dwarf rebellion? All right, big guy, we ditched the dwarf thing. We make you guys regular rattlers.
No, it's too late.
He looked at Jay and me. We looked away. Rabbit was now angry, and he pushed Kevin hard with the palms of his hand. Kevin tried to ram him in the stomach, but he stepped aside, throwing Kevin into the curb where he fell to the ground, bleeding profusely at the knee. Still, he managed to get up.
My street.
Kevin shouted at Rabbit, pointing at him with an angry index finger.
Find out more by Googling Boots in Manhattan, a 1940s coming-of-age novel, part 1 of the novel series The Foot Soldier by Ray Boylan and Johnny Bluestar. Google with the words Boots in Manhattan, Ray Johnny Kindle. That's Boots in Manhattan, Ray Johnny Kindle.
Now here is Sweet Dreamer, a song by Lightstorm. back on the Integrated Hermetic Health Show with Dr. Rodier. My name is Johnny Bluestar. I assist Dr. Rodier in this program. We were talking about meat and the problems, and one thing that we've mentioned so many times, but meat is one of the most doctored, I'm sorry for using that term, substance that we eat. I mean, there's all kinds of things in meat nowadays, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Hormones, pesticides, antibiotic traces. It just goes on and on and on. It's like you're eating a drugstore.
Yeah, it's an industry, big food, and then the way they treat animals at the farms. I don't even want to look at another documentary showing how these chickens are treated and executed. Oh my God, no, please.
Well, you were going to bring up another article related to this.
Yeah, there's been a lot of pushback against an article that came out 2-3 months ago. And I was so glad to see that pushback. But the article tried to tell us that there's nothing wrong with eating meat. And of course, it was financed by the meat industry. And a whole lot of doctors, and so that was good to see. And of course, nutritionists and people in the know just blasted this article as it should have been done. So if anybody is thinking about the article that condones meat, yeah, you need to read the follow-up because the blowback was significant and basically using the points that we just covered.
Well, the next article that we're going to discuss is called Fatty Liver Epidemic. And I think that this fatty liver really intrigues me, probably because I have one, I don't know. But it says about 1/3 of the people suffer in the world, I guess, or in the United States, I don't know which, suffer from the pre-diabetic condition. I guess right. This is here. You can test it with a blood test. The ALT and or liver ultrasound is caused by refined sugars in the diet and chemicals in the environment named obesogens, pesticides, heavy metals, phthalates, BPA, etc. When the liver is so affected, it does so optimally manage glucose and lipid levels, and it does not detoxify very well.
It's such a big problem, and if you see someone with a bit of a beer belly, which is a lot of people, well, think about what the liver's going to look like inside under all that blubber. So they're likely to have fatty liver if they're struggling with their waist circumference. But fatty liver, it illustrates so many problems. One, it's not fat that causes problems. It's sugar, refined sugars. And remember that a whole lot of refined sugars are fructose-based, high fructose corn syrup, which has to be metabolized in the liver. The liver, for one, thinks, what is this crap that they're trying to pass for real? And two, it's too much of it. So the liver fails in processing this fructose. And so what does it do with it? Well, it has to store it somewhere. So it stores its fat around itself, or this high fructose corn syrup or excessive sugar around itself in the form of fat. That's all it could do with it. So people get the impression that fatty livers are caused by fat. No, they're caused by refined sugars. But once that process starts, you're going down a slippery slide. Let's enumerate the problems. One, it means that you're already pre-diabetic, that you're not processing sugars very well, which produces a whole lot of cascade of metabolic issues that lead to insulin resistance. Insulin resistance at every level of the body, including the liver itself, causes poor processing of fats, of lipids. So a liver overwhelmed with fatty liver, insulin resistance, puts out bad cholesterols. Instead of handling cholesterol properly, which are in a lot of foods in our diet, it doesn't do it well, so it puts out, the liver does, cholesterol that's more sticky, cholesterol that's more likely to cause plaque when it goes up to patch up arteries. See, we've demonized cholesterol. No, if your liver's working right, you put out good cholesterol, and then you can patch up leaky arteries, leaky brain, leaky gut, leaky anything out there in the body, because that's what cholesterol does. It's
good cholesterol.
Good cholesterol when processed correctly by a healthy liver. So if you chase this argument around, you see that it's sugar creating problems in the liver, fatty liver, which then muck up your fat processing abilities, and then you start to get it all clogged up. And so this problem is aggravated by chemicals in the environment, as you mentioned, dubbed obesogens. There are many out there, plastics, pesticides, heavy metals, that muck up this process in the liver even further. Mm-hmm. And then the stage is set for you to have faulty metabolism in every cell of the body, a liver that now doesn't detoxify those obesogens very well, so you get caught in a vicious cycle, So the very cause or factor in fatty liver, obesogens, chemicals, now cannot be detoxified well, so you're spiraling down on a very gradual basis, and pretty soon you have some horrendous thing diagnosed. But this has been going on for years. This is why I insist on people checking an ALT, see what the liver's doing. Of course, just looking at the girth of a person tells me a lot, and the diet they're eating. So this is not rocket science. It's pretty basic stuff. And again, I'm afraid we have an epidemic of fatty liver in our country. I remember when a whole lot of people would go in for an ultrasound of this and that, mostly the liver for, say, to look into the gallbladder. And people would come home saying, well, my liver looks fatty. They don't know why, but they want to take my gallbladder out. Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you about the gallbladder, since we're talking about we're in the neighborhood. Why would you make gallbladder stones? Okay, let's say you do, and you take out the gallbladder so the stones are no longer seen. Did you take care of the problem? No, you're still making gallbladder stones. You just don't store them in the gallbladder. They roll right from the liver to the intestines and you poop them out, but you're still making them. Why? Because when you have fatty liver, that insulin resistance process that I talked about that begins in the liver causes your bile produced in the liver for digestion of fats, causes bile to thicken up. So you got thicker bile sitting in the gallbladder waiting for the next meal, because that's what the gallbladder does, stores bile. So you got a lot of it to squeeze out when you eat. And in the meantime, it's just going to wait for the next meal. So here's a thicker bile sitting, just waiting there, waiting patiently for the next meal. What's it going to do if it's thicker? It's going to have a tendency to precipitate into stones, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is not that you're storing stones, is that you made thicker bile. So you need to backtrack again and see that the thicker bile is produced by a fatty liver, insulin resistance, and all that. So go back to the initial patient who goes in to get an ultrasound. They took out my gallbladder. They saw that I have fatty liver, but they didn't tell me anything about it. Do you see the problem?
Yeah, sure. And taking out the gallbladder can cause problems.
Exactly. In the future, you're not going to...
Bile is actually valuable.
Yeah. Well, God put it there, and a whole lot of surgeons act as if it's an easy organ to pluck out to, increase your coffers.
I think there's evidence that you can take certain substances, like in a liquid form, maybe to remove the gallbladder stones.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. If they're not big, if they're not too big. But I got to tell you, the way to work on it is fatty liver, decrease insulin resistance, quit eating the damn refined sugars.
Okay, I want to talk about something related to this. I had an epiphany while you were talking. And you're probably not going to like my thoughts here, but they are theoretical, not actual. Isn't sugar as or more addictive than cocaine?
Very good. There are articles saying that they're equal. Articles telling you that an addiction to sugar is as bad as an addiction to heroin.
Okay, so let's say that's true or almost true. Well, isn't it true that although a lot of people will die of overdoses and have all kinds of problems because of that, can that effect of heroin on the entire population of any country anywhere near equal the effect of sugar?
No, I think the sugar problem is more insidious.
Okay, so what we have to do is we have to send a special, very large police squad into every supermarket in the world and arrest everybody.
Exactly.
Because what's happening here, I just realized that this is what I thought. I thought, so it's like we're walking into the supermarket and you can go to the produce section and you only get pesticides and stuff. But when you walk into and other things, But when you walk in, and GMOs and et cetera, but when you walk into the main part of the store, everything is filled with high fructose corn syrup and sucrose and phony artificial sweeteners that are just as bad for you. And so we're actually in the middle of it could be this is a cannabis store, or it's actually a heroin store.
Exactly. My first book.
This is where the fantasy policy comes in. I don't think that should be. I think it should be, if we eliminated it, made it illegal, not just to put a label on it, but to actually, we controlled at least the amount of sugar, and we controlled what was happening with sugar, and maybe in many cases eliminated it, we would change the entire environment for health.
Exactly.
I'm not saying we can,
right,
or we should, because I think I'm a little less liberal than you are about cutting off these, different things that people might take. I mean, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with people being able to take heroin or cocaine without any kind of penalty. But I think this is worse.
Yes, absolutely. Well, welcome to my world. You might recall that my first book about 20 years ago was Licking Sweet Death.
Yes, I remember that.
All right. And I got a lot of backlash because I plainly said sugar's addicting, refined sugars. And people act like addicts. I mean, just look at them when they're trying to withdraw. They go through withdrawals. And if you so much mention you need to quit sugar, they break into a cold sweat right in front of your eyes. So this is an addiction. And I tell people, think of HAVE, H-A-V-E. Our nation has an addiction to heroin, alcohol, Valium-like drugs, and E. But the point being that we have a lot of articles that show how refined sugars mess with your microbiome, which then sends messages to the satiety center in the brain, and also the refined sugars act directly on that satiety center, thereby making you addicted. And the literature on this issue is huge. Okay, so that is why I've said plenty of times that to get people to lose weight and to overcome their sugar addiction, it requires a psychology degree. It requires talking to people, trying to motivate them, and be willing to hold their hand as you would if you were trying to get them to quit tobacco, alcohol, or any other substance. It is an addiction. The reason, look, we get addicted to things that give us a buzz, and sugar certainly does. Now, as far as the mortality and morbidity of heroin, cocaine, and sugar is different, but because heroin, cocaine can kill you on the spot, right? One little bad trip and you're toast. Mm-hmm. Whereas sugar will kill you differently. It's like water. You can drown in an ocean immediately in 30 seconds, but think of a drop of water on a rock. That if it goes on and on and on, that drop will break that rock.
That's right. Well, listen, we have to take a break, and we'll go right back into this conversation in a minute. My company, New Galaxy Enterprises, is a California corporation specializing in the creation of media and promotional content. We are focused on original, innovative projects that are good for humanity. These projects could be nonfiction books or novels, fictional screenplays or documentary content, websites and website content, commercial advertising content for print, audio, or video products on the internet, television, or radio, musical scores for advertising, television, or film, video, audio editing, etc. We want to promote products and projects that support the environment, encourage a healthy experience in living, developing, nurturing, and useful technology, and offering platforms for positive, socially constructive entertainment or informative, transformative media. Our experience in creating a variety of products like this is rather vast, and we offer client-based and collaborative products, as well as the opportunity of active investors to join us in the creation and promotion of proprietary products, some of which are in latter stages of development. For more information, go to www.newgalaxyenterprises.com. That's www.newgalaxyenterprises.com. If you're interested in talking to us, just fill out the contact sheet and we will get back with you. If you're not fond of books, you may be interested in watching Dr. Rodier's slide presentation on his website, hugorodier.com. That's HUGORODIER.com. It lasts 48 minutes and explains the simple roots of all diseases with pictures and graphs that are easy to understand. The presentation includes basic principles of physics, philosophy, anthropology, and history to truly integrate the most vital pillars of human health. Here's another song by our featured band for this show, Lightstorm, a socially responsible and spiritually committed rock band. We're back on the Integrative Hermetic Health Show with Dr. Rodier, and we've been talking about the addiction of sugar and somewhat of this, how do you control it? You know, I just realized that our whole society is contaminated. It's not just physically, but I believe psychologically contaminated.
Brainwashed.
They're brainwashed but I'm saying, I don't know, what is the implication psychologically of having too much sugar? What does it do to your psychology?
Number one, it makes you depressed. And so, you get a buzz at first, but then you crash, kind of like alcohol, which is a fermented sugar.
Is that true also of caffeine?
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Yeah. And look, I love coffee. I have cut down to 1 cup a day. I just discovered Van Houten, this little cups of decaffeinated coffee through the Swiss water method with no chemicals.
Okay.
Otherwise, decaffeinated coffee is poison.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because you're using methylene acetate to decaffeinate the coffee. Really. I mean, look up methylene acetate.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you're going to drink coffee, 1 cup a day, and be better if decaffeinated the Swiss method, Van Houten. Anyway, so you get caught in a vicious cycle. So to keep from crashing, you got to have it. You see, it's the same with coffee. You know, you feel crappy if you don't drink it. Well, you got your body, your microbiome, everything used to it. It's the same with drugs. It's the same with sugar. In fact, if people log on to my website, hugorodier.com, and click on integrative class, a cartoon will pop up, an 8-minute cartoon showing this addiction to sugar driven by the microbiome. Sugar also does a number directly on the satiety center of the brain, which I already mentioned, but to elaborate. It causes this condition to where you can eat all the sugar you want and you're still hungry. And guess what you're going to reach for even more refined sugars. Do you think that the big food refined sugar industry knows this?
Yes.
Of course they do.
Just like the tobacco industry knew damn well about the cancer risk.
Exactly. Now let's get political now. I'll never forget the Starr report and this day of impeachment hearings and all that. It's worth going back to the Starr report. I read the book. It was fascinating. It turns out that at that critical moment when Bill and Monica are in the Oval Office with the cigar, and you get my drift. Yeah, at that critical moment, Bill gets a phone call. It turns out to be, I forget the name of the Florida man, the number one sugar grower in the United States in Florida, Fanchul, something like that. He gets a phone call from this guy. Now, you are the president of the United States in a very delicate moment. Do you take the phone call?
I guess you do. Probably.
You do when Mr. Sugar is calling. Yes, you do. So he took the phone call, and we're not privy to what the phone call was about. But that Bill put down the cigar and other things, and to answer the call tells me a lot. It tells me of the power of the sugar industry in the United States. It tells me why this whole Cuba thing is so messed up. It's all about money. It turns out that when we embargoed Cuba because of political reasons and all that, we lost all the cane sugar that we were importing from Cuba. So guess what the food industry did? They figured out how to make sugar from high fructose corn syrup, and they have never looked back. Do you think we want to reestablish business with Cuba? No. Mr. Sugar in Florida and others don't want you to, and they have a lot of power. Which leads me to the Farm Bill. Do you know what the Farm Bill has in it? A whole lot of good things and a whole lot of bad things. One of the bad things is that you and I, with our tax money, are protecting, fomenting, instigating, abetting the sugar growers of America at the expense of subsidies that could be given to farmers who are struggling to grow organic crops of veggies. So I'm sorry, but the sugar thing is totally political, as most things are. So I remember in the 60s there was a movie, I forget the title, but it was about what would happen if New York City quit smoking. You remember?
No, I don't know that movie.
I think the title was What's So Good About Feeling Bad? And, well, guess what happened? The economy collapsed in New York. And that's what I think if we were to really get into the sugar problem and go after the roots, the economy would collapse. So people who know these things kind of brush it under the carpet. Let's just not talk about it. It's too complicated. And so we created an addiction in our nation.
Another thing that I've noticed about sugar, particularly recently, is that I get extremely tired if I have sugar.
Right.
It was so bad that, of all the things that I've done to try and control my diet and improve it in certain ways, the one thing that seems clear to me is that the thing that has the most negative effect on me is sugar.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I don't push the vegetarian thing. So to connect the dots here a little bit, because guess what most vegetarians do?
Well, I was an ovo-lacto vegetarian, and I had a lot of sugar.
Exactly. So that's why I compromise and I say, look, okay, eat some lean meats, but please stay away from the refined sugars. Because if you're a vegetarian and really unhappy about it and feeling deprived, yeah, you're going to turn to sugar for comfort.
Well, then there's the idea that I have that I believe has some validity, is that we have plateaus. And if we're in a sugar plateau, we have, like the SAD diet. If we have the SAD diet, well, in other words, when you want to get off of sugar or some other substances, you have to go to an overall diet that won't lead to addiction. So, but that's very difficult to do. So, in other words, you once you're on a good diet, it's easy to stay on it.
Exactly.
You lose
Right.
your sense of taste changes. I remember when I one of my successful moments when I was on a good diet, I started to love salads, man. I love them. And I went to this restaurant and I was eating salads and just vegetables, and I couldn't believe it, how well they tasted. Of course, that
Right.
didn't last very long, but
Well, this is what I tell people. If you're used to an explosion of sugar in your mouth, then cutting back to the healthy sugars like a potato, the sugars in tofu, then you're not going to be happy for a while because you got used to so much stimulation, if you will.
yeah.
But once you get off of them, you can taste the sugar in very healthy food. In fact, if you go back to sugar, have an accident, you will find that there's too much, like a bite of cheesecake. It just overwhelmingly too much sugar. That's why, I used to like a milkshake once in a while. I cannot hack them now anymore because there's so much sugar in them. Look, we went about 50 plus years ago. We went from 4 pounds of sugar per person per year. Now we're eating 154 pounds of sugar per person per year.
154 pounds?
Yes, per year. Now, this thing about taste that you talked about, it's worth reiterating. I mentioned it already, but it's so critical. Sugars have a direct effect on your taste buds in the mouth. So if you get used to a lot of sugar, you'll need to retrain those taste buds. Sugar also has a direct effect on the microbiome. It turns out that they do also have sugar tasters or sensors, if you will. So it's a matter of retraining your gut bacteria. Then when you get them off sugar, and they will kick and scream when you're trying to get them off sugar because you got them used to all that sugar, they will be really happy with good sugar, start to send good messages to the brain. Hey, we're happy now, we're full, etc., etc. And so I'm glad that you bring up these points because people also need to hear from your perspective as you have your daily struggles with this issue out there, as just about everyone else in the United States.
Okay, I have another question. I'm aware of the ketosis diet, and I've been looking at it more carefully. One of the reasons I've looked at it more carefully is that, strangely enough, because I react to so many different things, my diet is very similar. And so I've been trying to look at it more and trying to understand it. And this insight is about a week and a half old. And I wonder if you could explain something about what ketones are, actually.
Sure. Ketones are products we produce when we are burning fats. So it's sort of a good thing to do, to check, because then you're losing weight in stored fat and losing stored fat that you don't need. Okay? So, yeah, no question about that.
What are they made out of?
Ketones.
They're not made out of fat. They're made out of a complex of things, right?
Right. Well, ketones are byproducts of metabolism that signal that you're burning fat. They're just a chemical that your liver makes. We were talking about fatty liver, and it signals that you're getting rid of that coat of fat and then losing fat elsewhere as well, right? Mm-hmm. And ketones are a type of acid that are put out by the liver signaling that you're burning fat. So if you follow a diet that gives you more ketosis, that's the process, it signals that you are indeed losing weight. Okay. The problem with the ketogenic diet, look, I think, like I said before, if you're going to lose weight, I don't care how you do it. You just got to be successful because we're facing such an addiction. When we're faced with an addiction, you can't be choosy or too technical or too dogmatic about how we're going to lose weight and overcome the addiction. So if a ketogenic diet works for you, great. But think about it. Why would you stay on it? Do you want to lose weight forever? Makes no sense. So that's why I believe the best diet is a plant-based diet to maintain the weight loss and to get the best nutrients. Because the ketogenic diet, by eliminating grains, for instance, and we talked about the wholesomeness of grains, it's not sustainable. You're not getting all the nutrients that you need.
Well, another thing that I found in studying this stuff is that there's a claim. Initially it was from an ad to say that if you took this substance, you would be able to not have all those troubles with eating those other things and get rid of, start losing weight and doing almost everything that you would achieve on a ketogenic diet. And that was C8, caprylic acid. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, caprylic acid is the reason it works is because it decreases the number of candida yeast in the gut. And by so doing, you do improve your microbiome. To think that all microbiome problems are about an overgrowth of candida is folly, and that has been proven. Do you find people that improve when you get rid of candida? Of course, because you're working on the microbiome.
Well, the claim is that it actually helps produce ketones.
Well, I haven't seen articles like that. I like to take a look.
I did research it to see, because the ad was so robust and saying, you don't need a ketogenic diet. This will do exactly the same thing, and you can still eat anything, and you can eat anything that you want.
Okay, right there is problematic. I don't even want to look at it.
I wasn't going to look. It would tell you to look at it. Yeah. But what I did is I tried to research it.
Yeah.
And what I found is that it is true that caprylic, according to more scholarly approaches, it does seem to have something to do with the production of ketones.
Okay. Well,
but not necessarily to the point of replacing a ketogenic diet, or you see what I mean? They're trying to say this. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
Well, I guess I will take a look. But my point is, anything that tells me take this pill and then you can eat anything you want. I'm sorry. I'm just questioning my.
I'm not sure that it actually said it that way. What it did say is that you won't have to give up all the good foods that you're losing when you take a ketogenic diet, and always be struggling with it.
For one compound to be so miraculous, that makes it so that you can not eat a regular diet, I'm sorry, the very idea is flawed. So,
well, I wasn't comfortable with it either. That's why I did this research. I did find that it has something to do with producing ketones, but I don't think no one that I could find said that it could replace, ketogenesis.
Oh, I see. Well, I don't know. I'll take a look, but I think the best thing's still a plant-based diet for maintenance, for the long haul. And in the meantime, you can try the caprylic acid, whatever. Caprylic acid's not going to hurt you. Like I said, I've already been using it for microbiome issues.
Yeah, I've used it for candida, and it's very powerful. We have to go now, though. All right. So I wanted to say thank you for this, the exciting moments of today, and we'll be back next week.
Okie dokie. Take care.
Bye-bye. For more information about Dr. Rodier's practice, books, blogs, and newsletters, contact Hugo Rodier, MD, at www.hugorodier.com. That's HUGORODIER.com. We now go out with our featured band, Lightstorm, in Give Me Your Love.
I was born with money and golden toys, never had to beg or borrow. You've run my life so perfectly, these 16 years of sorrow. But now it's time to face the truth and not the lie that's handy. I'm disillusioned, I'm discontent. Father, understand me. Give me your love, not your money. Give me your love, not your money. Give me your love, not your money. Give me your love. Give me your love, love, not your money. I'm so empty, Father, I need to share love with everybody near me. Can we meet for lunch right after school? Will you take the time to hear me? Or will you leave another 50 bills with a note that says you're busy? Well, if that's your life, then you count me out. Stop the world, I'm getting dizzy. Give me your love, not your money. Give me your love, not your money. Give me your love, not your money. Give me your love. Oh, give me your love, love, not your money. Not your